Look at the head coaches. How many of them won the Heisman Trophy? How many of them played in a Super Bowl? So just because you have a top person in your business, now maybe they are, but more than likely there's somebody else that may just be doing average in a position, but they've got great leadership, great communication skills, and they're going to help you out more in that area. So take the time to invest to make sure you're putting a leader in a leader position.
Hey everyone, welcome to Crossroads Conversations with the Lewis Brothers, where we aim to share real stories about running a successful family business, working through adversity, and pouring back into the community that keeps our doors open. We're your hosts, Taylor, Matt, and Shelby, and we'll bring you relevant local business advice and automotive insights that are sure to change the way you look at running a business, and may even throw in a plug for you to do business with us. Welcome to Lewis Brothers Crossroads Conversations. This is the 50th episode. 50th episodes of Answering Questions.
Week after week.
We've almost made it.
Almost made it.
Real world stuff happening.
This is really us too. It's not AI.
Yeah. No.
You know,
this
50
is live.
episodes.
No. 50 episodes, living in the life. 3 brothers. Somehow we get along and it all works really good.
Always showing up, put it together, talking about what works.
So welcome back. In this special episode, we're answering real questions from our own Lewis Automotive team.
Ooh, this could be
everything from leadership and business challenges to what we wish we'd known sooner. No scripts, no filters, just honest answers and real conversation.
Before you go any further, let me tell you how this format happened.
Okay.
We talked about it a little bit last week. It was like, hey, we always ask at the end of this podcast, hey, drop it in the comments. Let us know. And we continue to grow our audience. Each week I get the metrics of all the views and the downloads, and somebody's seeing relevance or laughed at us or something. But so we said, hey, let's see employees-wise, 260 employees, what questions they have, not necessarily for podcasts, just for us. Like if we slowed down and held still for a second, what would they want to know?
It's like a real Q&A.
So then the team actually went around and said, no, you have to ask a question and ask a good handful of employees, and that's where these came from.
Do we have the recording of them asking the question?
I don't know.
I think they wanted to be
anonymous. We have a solid, and that's a good point. This is not on the script. We have built this outstanding marketing
team.
From social media people to double video people to graphics people to events people to coordination of all of it. And so, yeah, they did a lot of that.
I just got to say, when you're saying that, I know we're getting off topic here, but this is exciting.
Whatever.
Is you might be driving down the road and you saw the buildings and you've seen all the inventory and you're like, dang, what's next? We're always looking for the next level. And what you're going to see in the next 6 months coming out social-wise, how our interaction-wise, how this podcast, our Saturday morning meeting will be next level. We're so excited about it.
Yep.
Hey, Matt, but what happened last week? Recap.
Last week, episode 49, if you missed out, go check this one out. And I think every leader out there, if you've not experienced it yet, it's only because you just got started. And it's coming, so you might as well go earmark this one. Burned out and still in charge. You know, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, you can feel burned out, but you can't give up. You got people who are like, okay, I'm backed in the corner. I'm whipped, but what do? Because I got to come out of this corner fighting. I can't give up. My family depends upon it. You know, all my employees depend upon it, so on and so forth. So we unpacked all of that on what's called the dark side of leading under pressure. You know, we unpacked all that, gave you some real world advice on how each of us has been able to go through that and how we have the tools to be able to go through it again in the future. Because it is a cycle that'll happen. I don't care how many positive podcasts you listen to. I was going to say cassette tapes.
You could listen to them all. Cassette tapes, podcasts,
all the
videos,
above. Yeah. But you still need the tools in place to help you through all that. Hey, as always, go to lewissuperstore.com. You'll find over 1,000 vehicles in stock, all during our trade-in, trade-up event, where you can get an additional $2,500 in addition for your trade value, plus our Lewis guarantee. And then all these podcast episodes are on crossroadsconversationpodcast.com.
All right, so what did we drive today?
It was a good one.
We specifically didn't all drive this together. That's because it's only a 2-seater.
Okay.
But I want to point this out. This is a pre-owned vehicle. We always feature bringing
We sell
the latest and we do. We sell a good amount of pre-owned. As a matter of fact, we sell probably 1.25 to 1.5 used to new ratio. So if we sell 200 new, that means we sell around 300 used.
That's right.
Right? And so I'll tell you our feature and I'll tell you how we come across this stuff. So you know that we're Ford guys. You know that we're Mopar guys. It's our core product. It's what we've grown up around. But today's feature is a 2020 Chevy Corvette Stingray. C8, mid-engine, 4,700 miles. It's torch red with adrenaline red interior. So it's red on red. It's a 2LT package, 4,700 miles, Z51 performance package. It has all the options. 3LT, Z51. It's got the upgraded front lift. It's got the interior comfort package, engine appearance package, the personalized plaque, the bright red calipers. And you're wanting, Shelby, how do you know all this? Well, one, we took a look at it, but two, our website shows that. Pretty cool thing there, lewissuperstore.com. The cool thing that you're going to love about this, because it's non-core product. It's not a Ford or CGR. It didn't come from the manufacturer, the used car factory. Suggested retail, everything that everyone looks at, Kelley Blue Book, NADA, all the online sources says this should sell for $73,000. With our Lewis exclusive trade assistance, $2,500, you can buy this car for $68,200.
Wow.
So saves you a bunch of money, $5,000 less there. This is just one of hundreds. This morning, I think we looked at it and had close to 470 pre-owned cars on the ground. And I need you to know that we don't buy these at auction.
I think that's the important point right there.
We buy majority of our used cars come from trade-ins, right? But things that we acquire comes from private collections, from for sale by owners, from local people. Because what happens at an auction, let's say the three of us don't work together. We all work at three different places. We go to an auction because we have to have used cars because our ratio says we need to sell used cars. We go to that auction. There's generally 100 times people per car of cars to buy there. And so that means we're all going to be focused on this car. We all like it. It has the right options, and we're going to raise our hand.
We're going to bid against each other.
The guy with the last hand up gets the car. It's generally going to be above value. Plus, they're going to charge you an auction sell fee. You're going to have a post-sale inspection fee. You're going to have to transport it. 3 fees that are going to happen, and you're going to hope it's a good car before it ever shows up here. So you're going to pay an astronomically high amount. That's why we put this $2,500 trade assistance, because that's about the average amount that it costs to go to an auction to acquire that. We want to give you that money. So if your car's worth $10,000, now it has the value of $12,500. So we purchased a ton of cars just locally off the street. So if you've got a car for sale, bring it to us, and we'll give you top dollar.
Hey, you know I like to throw the facts in there for everybody to grab a hold of. So like last month, for example, of the 415 vehicles we sold, 226 of them were pre-owned. 226. In addition to that, what you were just talking about local vehicles that we take in trade or we buy out of collections, last month we acquired over 302 of those. So every single month there's over 300 new pre-owned vehicles that comes into our inventory, and over 50% of those are non-core products.
Love that. So that's our feature of the day. Solid car there. So let's dive into, we talked about questions from our employees, what they thought, and we'll see how deep this gets. I haven't completely read through this whole thing, but number one question, what is one thing that you can credit to being in business for 79 years?
Well, 79 years is a track record that has proven itself that you can't do if you don't put in the time. And what I mean by that is real trust in the community. From generational. When you bake in generational trust, like my dad did business with the Lewises, my grandfather did business with the Lewises, that is something you can't go out there and buy. So that generational trust on the buyer side. And then having the culture of a employer that you want to work for, that you're like, that's somebody that I can see myself having a career with. Not only are they going to give me a fair wage and support me, They're going to be there with me. They'll actually train me. The culture I'll go to every day is going to lift me up so I don't go home in a worse mood. Those are a couple things that you can't do without putting in time. Now, once you get past one generation, it starts showing you that what they're doing is correct. There's plenty of businesses that can go one generation.
Yeah.
But if you want to go 4 generations like we are, you must continue to do the right thing with your employees and with your customer.
I think that's really good. Taylor, what's your thought there?
I think it's structure. It's honestly structure from all that happens because, and we've went over this in previous episodes of family, of how story of how you get into the business, how you work, how everything else. That all has made every family member that's ever worked in this business, they've had to put in the time. They've had to put the work in. So they have sweat, equity in the whole circumstance of everything going on. So then it makes them pour out into employees where they want to work there. So it's structure for me of, and we've talked about this whenever we were younger, just rewinding a little bit, that I've got a long mountain I've got to climb before I can get to where I want to be, where I can run this business, where I can own this business, whatever it would be. But that is one thing that has allowed it to sustain for 79 years, because we haven't taken somebody in the family and thrown them into the reins and said, hey, here you go. They have had to work their way up through the ranks and prove their worth. That then pours down to all the employees, all the community, because that process that's been baked in for 79 years continues to stay in the circle.
I think that's really good. And so that talks that business is more than business, and it's not just business. And so you think about that and like, okay, 79 years, what's happened? I think it's having the correct moral compass of understanding what's right, doing what's right. And that's for customers, but also employees, right? And the funny thing is, yesterday in our board meeting, Uncle Tommy, semi-retired Uncle Tommy, he said, hey, when I was 18 years old, this is funny because he doesn't always tell stories, but just like out of nowhere, he's like, when I was 18 years old, my uncle told me that would have been Buck, I suppose.
Oh, it could have been Herb.
Herb,
because he was talking about service.
Yep. So that was second generation Herb. And he said, listen, son, and I'll say this just like he said it. He said, you're never too damn busy to get out in the shop and go talk to the technicians. He said, you're never too busy to get out and go talk to the employees. He said, you better go find Randy. You better go find Steve. You better go find Larry and ask them, how was Junior's first day of school? How's football practice going? And I think that's the value that this business has been built on, is hiring the right people, giving them the time, tools, and training at whatever stage that is, and then showing them that you care because you do, right? Because you do care, and it's important to them that they know that you care about them.
That's good. I think I want to say one other point that came to me, I think, Taylor, as you were talking, and I think this is vitally important to say one more time, is that we do not have people in positions, especially family members, that did not earn the position.
Yep.
None of us were given, we were given an opportunity.
Yeah.
We were given an opportunity.
Yep.
None of us came in at a management level.
Yep.
We were all given the opportunity, but we had to earn, and I would say harder than a normal employee, earned the ability to go to the next step and the next step and the next step. And I can remember in my mind being frustrated that I wasn't at the next step yet, going, what else do I have to do? We've broken these records. We've done this. We've done that. And it was just time. Now it's easier to see, okay, that's why Dad let me think about it, let me sit in that situation for a while, because it paid dividends down the road versus progressing too quick.
Yeah, I think that's really good, and that all contributes to long-term business. We're like not chasing the dollar today, right? Now that's important, but all right, I think that answers that. Next question: how do you stay consistent with training and culture when the business is on a tremendous growth path? Whether we're saying hiring a bunch of new employees, like when we moved to our new location, 100 plus new employees, I think that speaks to the culture. Or just training of making sure that everyone understands Lewis Automotive, how we treat employees and customers. What's your guys' thoughts there?
I think it is extremely important and we were all challenged on this, especially during growth and construction. It's extremely important to make sure you have non-negotiables. And some of our non-negotiables, even on our busiest day or our most hectic day, we still have our meeting with our managers. Mm-hmm. We still take time to train on Mondays and Fridays. Mm-hmm. We still do cake day in the middle of it. We still have our micro meetings. Mm-hmm. So when we start off our week, those are our non-negotiables, that those things are in place. And no, I can't go do this during that because I'm in meetings.
Yeah.
And I had to get that through my brain early on in my career, because when I was thinking, well, there's a customer out there. There's somebody else that needs my time today. Well, but Matt, you've got 40 people in the room waiting for you to train them. What's the multiplication factor there? Because as soon as you let off the gas and you don't prioritize something, your team now thinks that's not important.
Yep. Yeah. And I think also that was working in the business and on the business, right? A lot of those things that drag you away are working in the business, which are important, but now it's next layer working on the business.
You're never, no different than you were talking about Uncle Tommy saying that, going around and talking to your employees. You're never too busy to train.
Yeah.
Now, if you got people not showing up for your training, that's a whole different other discussion, but you're never too busy to train and to be involved in your business. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that means you got to cut out some other stuff that's not as important.
No doubt. You can't just keep stacking them in.
And we've tried to do that.
Oh, yeah. How many more metrics can we put on a page? Like, I don't know. Let's keep trying.
Yeah. Well, that's entrusting in others, too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when that, I'm not going to say simple because it wasn't simple. When that handoff happened, where then I was like, okay, I have all the trust in Shelby in running the Monday morning meeting on training. Okay, then that freed me up to communicate back with the board some more, to working on the business. Mm-hmm. And then same thing with Shelby with Taylor, going, okay, well then I can be used over here. Taylor can shift into this.
Yeah.
So I think it takes that as well.
Yeah, most definitely. Do you have any different thoughts or feelings?
No, I think the biggest, and we talk about this, but is being present around the business, because then you really hear what you need to train on.
Yeah.
You know that we need to train, but the only way that you're ever going to really hear, and it's no different than when I was in the meeting yesterday, I'm like, hey, some of y'all are getting aggravated with me at the ABCs. You say I know the ABCs, but I sat there and went over repetitively over and over and over and over. And the class finally looked at me because I kept asking the guy the same questions. Yeah. And he was scared and was fumbling it. But we did it about 10 times in a row. And then I stopped and sat back, and class was like, okay, all right, that's okay to do. I said, yes, it's okay to do, because then you get where you're confidently doing it every time, but we wouldn't know those things that need to be addressed if you're not sitting in different areas. No different than you saying, hey, you got to take the time to go talk to people. Go take the time to go and sit somewhere and work. Yeah. Go talk to someone else you haven't talked to, because you're going to hear an employee that may not be treating a customer correctly, and you're going to hear an employee completely drop what they should have been a walk in the end zone, but they fumbled the ball. So that's the only way that you'll ever know to be able to implement that in our consistent training.
And you can't be mad at them first time or two for them doing wrong, saying wrong, or going through the process wrong if you haven't properly trained them.
Nope.
And like newsflash, this is going to blow your mind. You will continually have to circle back to the basics regularly.
All the time.
Continually, regularly circle back to the basics. Just like, oh my gosh, I just went over that. You know, it was funny. Taylor was talking about something for service training, and the three of us were talking yesterday, and it was like, Matt just went through a course. And he's like, well, but like Ford. And I was like, no, it was Ford and Chrysler, like a 12-week training process. He calendared out an hour every single week to do this, and this. I was like, better fire it back up again, like fire the old girl up again. But it like, if that bugs you, you're in the wrong spot, right? It can aggravate you, but it's like, no. Mm-hmm. Like, how much do you forget from yesterday? Like a decent amount, right? So it's okay to circle back to it, and hopefully it just fires them back up. And I love that you continued to, you weren't mean and you didn't make fun of the person.
Yeah.
I was one time at Allen Ram training, and I went, I was general sales manager and took a couple finance managers and took a couple sales managers.
Yep.
And Allen Ram was very intense. Military training, had really good training, and he gave us the whole training manual right from the get-go. And he started out with the most important stuff, page 1, page 2, page 3. And we were training in the first 4 hours, and so then he would say ring, ring, and someone had to answer the phone. And he would ask a very specific question that it was an open book test, and the answers were right in front of you. He'd just give them to him. One of our finance managers was answering it, but not saying it correctly. And so he'd say, ring, ring. And then he'd say, ring, ring. And he did it like 18 times. And I was sitting there, I was like, stop thinking, read the sheet of paper. It was embarrassing for me, and it was aggravating because I was sitting there, I was like, just read the paper. Just read the paper. And so I know that was your aggravation, but I can promise you he never forgot the process of how to train. He didn't belittle him, didn't say, hey, you're dumb, or hey, you can't figure this out. He's like, he finally stopped. He's like, it's in front of you. Read the paper.
Yeah.
He was like, because he kept trying to just go off of natural instincts, what he would say. He's like, no, this is brand new to you. I know you won't understand it, but this is how you need to be training with your team for them to fully get it. Otherwise, they'll just go through the training, check that box, and go back to what they knew.
Yeah, that's so good. I got a question off of this question I'm going to ask both of y'all, because this is supposed to be real Q&A. Okay?
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a situation where you had a training meeting coming up, a cake day coming up, an employee event coming up, and in the back of your mind, you're like, I am frustrated. I got too much to do right now. Why are we doing this? So on and so forth.
I'd say 50% of the time.
You?
Oh, yeah.
Who put this on my calendar?
Yes.
I got to get other things done right now. Now we love doing those things, but we're human. I think that's what we want to get across here is it's important to us, the employee events. It's important to us, the training stuff. But to think that it comes easy and that's what we wake up every single morning, we're pulled 8 different directions.
And I guess let me explain that and give some more context. In our Keg Day celebration, we celebrate all the birthdays and all the anniversaries for the week, positive accolades, and most importantly is positive. Never will we get up there and speak of really anything that needs attention or anything that wasn't done well. Now, sometimes you'll be going into that meeting looking for some positive outlook when things have turned down a little bit. And you're like, golly. Because then you look at the hard numbers and you're like, okay, well, we were down $48,000 there, or we were down 38 units there. Expenses were up 47% there. And it's like, son of a gun. And then you're looking at it and you got a ping from a Google review. 1-star review is like, they promised me a car wash, but they didn't wash my car. Like, what the heck? And it's like, hey, the salesperson was great. They never called me again. They didn't follow a typical used car dealership. And those things pile on and you're like, now I got to go pump my team up about how good they are. Am I lying to them? And I'm like, no, that's a small percentage. That's a small percentage. So maybe in your office, banging your head up against the wall, doing some push-ups, dunking your head in the cold plunge, just to walk out on the stage like Ric Flair and just say, hey, I found it. Here are the good things. And I want to say thank you so much for you actually carrying and doing good. But you're so real that it sometimes it's like, whatever.
And I'll pitch it over to you. Have you ever been frustrated just thinking, I know this is important, but I got too much on my plate right now. And why are we meeting about this?
Oh, yes. Like I'm going through of things that I know, especially as a man, and it probably irritates me more, not in sales, but more of a manager level, that we have to meet with managers to be able to go over processes or procedures that should be done. You should know that's why you're empowered, you're employed at this level. I'm like, come on, guys, because nothing irritates me more and to stop during the day and have to slow down to teach someone that should know and is to a level that they should know. That's when it ever really aggravates.
It's like you're on a power drive down the field. You took about a fast break and you call timeout. Well, now everyone's caught up to you. It's like you were leading the lap in the Daytona 500 and you had 4 seconds on the guy. Then a caution comes out. Now everyone's stacked behind you. But it's important, because sometimes we'll do a manager checkup, like we were talking about our trade-up thing. And Saturday, we were talking about it the Saturday before, and I was like, hey, if it's this, does it qualify? If it's this, does it qualify? How much to get? And one of the managers answered wrong 3 times in a row. And I was like, I guess that's why we're going over this. Right? But that's life.
And
people.
The reason I brought that up is because hopefully there's some people listening that realize we're pulled 8 million directions just like you guys are. We have plenty of things to do. It's not that we needed to schedule those meetings or those events to fill our calendar. We're actually having to remove things off of the calendar and reprioritize. But you're never too busy to invest in your team. You're never too busy to recognize your team. But if you don't prioritize it, you don't calendar it, it will never happen. And all the normal stuff of every day will eat all your time up.
Yeah, it definitely will. So that is a good point. We're not trying to show our Instagram highlight reel. But we want to give you all the stuff.
Yep.
You know, all the dirt. So that's really good. All right, last question for me. What keeps you going every day as a leader? What keeps you going? Whether that's just you or the business or whatever it is.
I'll jump into that one. I love seeing.
Is it steak?
Yeah. Oh, people are highly concerned. And my brother being one of them right over here, my daily input of protein.
Because like in one seating, this is totally derail your head, but I want to say it. In one seating, somewhere from noon to 3 o'clock, a paper plate has never worked so hard.
We've got to get the video and the picture part going.
No, I have one. I'll send it to the team so they can put this. Please put this on there. I videoed them the other day. It was like 3 16 to 18 ounce ribeyes stacked on top of each other, coated in mustard,
like a stack of pancakes.
And he does this. It's like this training act, and it's because he's on carnivore diet, and it generally will just eat 1 time a day. So I'm not just saying, hey, you're a big fat.
No, I am.
But he has a theory, but I'm just like, I can't sleep if I eat half that much steak.
I've never, and I challenge. I'm going to make y'all do this of going through. Because I know y'all like being completely healthy. You've never felt so good.
I felt let's get before you go into the steps. You say you've never felt this good. We got together to celebrate our birthdays. We do a cake day and a birthday day as a family. Right? We did it. We went out to the lake. Taylor cooked 18 of these humongous ribeyes.
First of all, thank you.
Thank you. I loved it. So I ate it Saturday night. It was amazing.
It was amazing.
And then we had a lot left. And so Sunday, I put it in the microwave and ate another one.
For breakfast.
I had to turn my air down to like 66 and slept in my underwear on top of the sheets, and I still sweated like I was on the beach. Oh, it's just like, how do you do this?
What is going on?
What's the protein?
All right, so on each one of how many steaks did he have?
3.
Okay. There's an average on an 18-ounce steaks is 126 to 138 grams of protein.
That's a lot.
Let's use 130.
2 of those gets my daily intake.
3 at 130 is 390 grams of protein.
That's why I'm so strong.
Mr. Universe, what are you training for?
Golly. All right, so
a lot of water. No, that's okay.
So the question, what keeps you going every day as a leader? 1, it's steak, but 2, what was you actually going to say?
No, it's got to be the success of others around me. Not only providing for my family, I love doing that, making y'all as brothers proud that you put me in a position that I can do good at, but it's not my own goals. It's not saying, hey, look at me, what I'm doing. It's seeing my whole team succeed. And that's when it's like, you can tell me, hey, your team did this, and not Taylor, you did this. I'd be more proud whenever you told me my team did this than saying, hey, you did good. Because I don't want the credit. I don't want to stand up there and be going through everything else. So it is me pushing forward to try to make sure my team has the best ability to crush all of their goals.
That's solid.
I'm glad to hear that. I mean, it's not that I'm copying you, but we all talk about the same culture. And it just rings in my head because growing up in my dad's vehicle was a library of cassette tapes, okay?
Not these things.
Come on, of cassette tapes. They were the old podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what one of them we regularly played on there is Zig Ziglar. And Zig constantly said, if you'll help enough others get what they want, you'll get what you want. And it's exactly what Taylor's talking about. And I got to agree. As a leader, there's been obviously multiple different chapters and stages and there will be many more throughout my career. But it's there's one thing, a joy of hitting your own goal.
Yeah.
And that's like exciting for like a short term. But then it's like, who else are you going to tell about that? You get an entire team to achieve their goal, and the celebration on that is no different than watch a football game, okay? And if you get a running back that has record yards in the game, okay, but they didn't win the game, there's hardly any celebration.
Yeah.
He can have half the yards, and the team wins, and there's a huge celebration.
Yeah.
You know, so to me, that's really important. And I'd say the other thing that just keeps me going every day as a leader is the just constant growth of opportunities where I feel challenged. And it's like, man, I'm stepping into an area that I don't have a path for. I've got to learn. It's challenging me. It's taxing me. But I know if I do this, then the team will be better and it will continue to project our family business in a constant growth forward.
That's good. I'd say one thing that I would add, I think it's really scary, cool, and rewarding to know that not only specifically directly my family, our family, but 260 employees and their families count on us each day to bring our best and to help them. So that's the coolest thing. Like, it's scary, challenging, but when it all works, that's one of those things like, if we ever said, which was so rare, hey, Dad, is there any way that there'd be something else that I could do to make some more money? Right? When we were in the wash bay and in the parts warehouse. Yeah, right? And it was one of those things Early taught us was like, well, figure out to be more efficient, work a little harder, and help enough people hit their goals, and you should make some more money. Right? And so that's one of those things we know that, and that's our driver of like, help other people, and then you should be successful. Right? And if you're not successful, you failed all around. That's all it's like. You better figure it out.
That's good.
Oh, that's good. Hey, I'm going to mix it up a little bit. A little fun fact.
Fun fact quiz of the week.
What is the longest continuously produced vehicle model in history?
Okay.
I've got A, Chevy Suburban, B, the Volkswagen Beetle, C, the Ford F-150, or D, none of these.
The longest continuously produced vehicle model in history. Shout out to our team that took the answer off here. I love that. So we don't know the answer. Chevy Suburban, Volkswagen Beetle, F-150, or none of these.
You know, I was getting ready to ask the question. I'm going to go ahead and ask it anyways. But I was going back to my school days on not reading the question correctly. And I was going to say, well, what about the Volkswagen Beetle? Because they had a period of time where they weren't built. Do we count all that? But right there in the question, it says continuously.
Yeah, that would be continuous.
Yeah, and that hence is why I wasn't good at multiple choice.
That's okay. We're going to be all right. You made it.
It's all right. Hey, rolling to another question here. What is one simple key to business sustainability?
I would say a simple key to business sustainability is this. And I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, in fact. Slow growth. Slow growth. Everybody wants massive growth. You give me sustained slow growth, I can plan for it. We can do better at handling cash flow for it. We can hire the right employees. We can get the structure how we want. And I know that's kind of tough to say, like, hey, you don't want all this business coming at you. Slow growth will help sustainability.
We've seen that in companies that we've like vendors that we use. They're like, well, this person's good, and they don't have a slow growth pattern, and then they don't have the support to handle it, and you become dissatisfied.
Yep.
I would say along with that is solve the little problems. You know, you're never going to find the $50,000 ideas like, oh, that was easy. You just flip that switch and, but if you focus on the little things, it's no different than we say in endurance events. Like, how in the heck do you run 100 miles? I'll tell you exactly how. You start with the first step, and then you make it to the second step, and then the third step. You're not trying to say, hey, how do I scale $1 million business or $10 million business or $100 million business? You're saying, hey, how do I make sure the customer that walks in, the first one today, gets the best experience? How do I make sure my employee walks in today that they know exactly where to go, exactly what to do, that they have a very clearly written process, that they feel valued, that they have a clean place to go, that they, all the things. And so if you focus on just that very simple thing and then get that figured out and then move to the next thing. So just focusing on little things along with slow growth, I think then you're just like, whoa, this is a monster.
It really is. I got to add, I know they said one, so I'm going to go on my second one. Solution-based. And we talk about that word and we love We love in there. And you could layer that, however, adaptability, changing with times, but solution-based.
Which means finding a way to not say no.
Correct.
Let me put that in simple and easy. Solution-based means when the answer is no, and it's okay that the answer is no, give him an option that doesn't say no.
It does. And it means when the faucet turns off on new vehicles, we provide used solution-based to keep selling.
Right.
When the shop has got a reduced amount of RO accounts, we lean heavier on selling the vehicles.
Yeah.
When used isn't selling or we can't get enough used, we lean harder on the new. We're just always looking for a way to be solution-based and change with the times and the molding. We know this, but just so our audience knows, do you know how much different car buying looks now than 79 years ago?
It's a little different.
Just because you're open 79 years does not mean you're going to be successful.
No, you got to keep evolving with it.
No. Okay, that's good there. Well, next one of rolling into, how do you lead a team of people in the right direction that you want as a leader without making the team feel pushed, obligated, and make it their idea?
I like it at the very end there. That's how you lead a team of people in the right direction that you want as a leader without making them feel pushed, obligated. You make it their idea. We spent a whole podcast talking about that.
Yep.
But that becomes in a discovery. It's like, hey, guys, the next thing I want to work on is customer CSI.
Sure.
Or shop uptime or whatever it is. And so then you get that crew in there, that hyper-based crew, that micro meeting, and say, hey, here's the next thing we want to focus on. Let's start whiteboarding some ideas of what your thoughts are. And generally what you want the answer to be. But you're going to let them, and then they might throw it up there, and then you get to circle it a couple extra times.
Sure.
But then if it's not up there, you say, hey, what about if we offered this first?
Yep.
And they're like, oh, that's a good idea. It's like, okay to put up there? And they're like, yeah, put it up there. So you put it up there. And so then you circle back to it. It's like, okay, is this good? And they're like, nah, let's X that one. You X that one. So you end up with 3. It's like, okay, which one do you think? So then your idea becomes their idea. And that's how you lead people in a clear direction to think that they're not just cattle getting driven down the road, right?
That's such great insight on developing it as their idea. I'm going to take this from a different side just to add some context to it. Let's talk about putting people in the right position.
Yeah.
Here's what I do want to remind you is that if you're somebody's leader, boss, manager, whatever you want to label it, employees are generally going to tell you yes, even when they're not. You're their boss.
Even if they don't mean it?
Even if they don't mean it. And let me tell you this, we have seen this. We talked about this yesterday at one of our other stores. You can put an employee in a position. They will make it work for about a 90-day to a 6-month period.
Yeah.
They can put on their big boy pants and their smiling face, but at some point in time, their true talent will come out of liking this position or being frustrated by it.
And lack of motivation and all those things.
But at first, you'll think you made the right decision.
Yeah.
But then, and that's why we use a lot of personality tests now, because that doesn't lie. It's not the end all be all, but it doesn't lie. Here's the second tip here. Just because somebody's a top performer in an area does not mean that they're your perfect candidate for management level wise.
Yep.
So you got to get people in the right position. I'll give you a couple examples in our business. Because somebody's the top salesperson does not mean that they're meant to lead a team of salespeople. Because somebody is a top technician doesn't mean they should be the service manager. Because somebody is a top service advisor does not mean that they should be the service manager, so on and so forth. Look at the head coaches in NFL. I know it's football season, so we got to talk football. Look at the head coaches. How many of them won the Heisman Trophy? How many of them played in a Super Bowl? So just because you have a top person in your business, now maybe they are, but more than likely there's somebody else that may just be doing average in a position, but they've got great leadership, great communication skills, and they're going to help you out more in that area. So take the time to invest to make sure you're putting a leader in a leader position.
And to spin off of that, if you have let's say that you have a sales manager position available, and we've learned this the hard way and how to do it properly. You put that ad out internally.
Yep, absolutely.
And then you give the opportunity, especially if they raise their hand. You know good and well they could manage people better than they could manage a dozen eggs, right? But they're really good at motivating themselves, doing their own schedule, figuring out how to handle customers, right? But you know that, and generally they know it. But they have earned the right to be able to interview for it. And you need them to let them, so you have to walk them through those stages and at least give them the right opportunity to say, do I think I fit? You don't have to offer them the job if they're not the right fit. Matter of fact, you should not offer them the job, but you should offer them the opportunity.
For sure.
And so then you can walk through that. It's like, hey, do you want to have to control all 15 of those people when they can't hit their goals? Like, what would you do there? And do you want to be glued here full time?
Yeah.
You can't go run some errands, and you can't go do this, and you can't just hop on a plane to go here and here. And they're like, You need to give them opportunity. Then you need to give them areas for growth without having to move to a new role so they still feel valued. Because if you just in your mind say, there's no way they could make it as a manager, there's no way they'll make it as a head coach, and you make that decision for them, then they're going to say, these people don't value me, and they'll go somewhere else. They'll be a manager. That didn't work out, and then they'll fall back to salesperson in another store. They'll be unhappy, but they're not coming back because that situation was never at least presented. And then they get to say, they offered me the manager position, but I don't. Right? When we've done that wrong before, but we've learned that that's the proper way to do it.
Yeah, that's good. No, that is very good. Hey, last one here. Best advice to someone who has started a new business or wants to.
Don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up. And let me just tell you, if you're starting in your career, or especially if you're starting a business, like this is as real as I can be, it's gonna take time. And if you're married, sit down with your wife and y'all have this conversation. It is gonna take work. I don't care all the AI tools and all the technology out there. It takes work. You're not gonna open a business tomorrow and all of a sudden take 3 weeks of vacation this year. You're not taking any vacation.
No.
None. Zero. Okay? You're opening the door, you're closing the door. Now, eventually, you're putting all that time in so you can layer teams in with systems and processes, so then you have that flexibility. But the next 3+ years, if you're not ready to commit yourself and your wife's not on the same page, do not do it. Just don't do it. I know this doesn't sound pumped up, but it's reality. Too many people think they're going to open a business and then all of a sudden sit back and work part-time and this and that, and the money's going to flow in. You got 3 to 5 years barely making payroll.
Yeah, any podcast or any story of some of a founder or business producer, they were bleeding money the first 3 to 5 years.
They weren't. I love listening to like Guy Raz's stuff on how I built this. They mortgaged their house. They didn't take a salary. They paid all their employees with themselves.
It's a long-term play. If you think that you're going to start an IPO or a .com and flip it for some millions right quick, like you either are genius and somehow you'll figure out how to sell something from your basement without having to touch it. But in the real world, first piece of advice I'm going to give you is listen to the first 49 episodes of Crossroads Conversations. Not because we want you to watch them all, because it is 49 hours, which is just about a normal work week, of things to learn and to listen, of the cash flow and figuring out the inventory turn. And don't dive in like you need to be committed with both feet, but don't just get like, hey, I've got $400,000 to spend. Let's put all $400,000 in and let's buy $400,000 worth of inventory. You're going to need some more cash. So you're going to need about 50% reserve there because it's a long-term play. But if you fully have vetted this thing out and gone through the metrics we've talked about, the questions that you ask, then fully dive in and just know you're committed. Communicate with your spouse. Said, hey, I won't see you for 35 years.
Yep.
And we're not going to have anything extra, beans and rice and beans.
Yep.
And then somewhere along the way, you'll get 1 week paid vacation by yourself.
You will. Last piece of advice on that. Let's say your business is up and going, and let's say you do have some profit. If If that comes in the first 6 months to the year, my hat's off to you.
And reinvest it.
Reinvest it.
In your business.
In your business. If you even think about buying, and we're in the business of selling cars, so I can't believe I'm saying this. If you even think about buying a third car, a fun car, or a boat, or a jet ski,
come see us.
Four-wheeler,
we'll sell it to you and say it's an awful idea.
Or a new house, you're an idiot. I'm sorry, but take that money
on a t-shirt
and reinvest it in your business.
Yeah.
Reinvest. You live off of rice and beans and rice if you want it to catapult down the road. Reinvest the money. It drives me nuts. People I see, and I had a guy the other day and I whacked him with a Louisville Slugger, okay, because I've got that relationship with him now because he was doing well and I saw him at the gas station with a brand new wakeboard boat. And I called him and I said, where'd that boat come from? And I have nothing besides helping mentor this guy. And I said, cash it now. He's like, why? I've had a good month. Reinvest it. There is some type of this or that coming. You're going to need the cash.
Oh, Lord. We're not the people you want to ask for advice in that because we're going to hit you raw and real.
Yeah. Maybe that was too raw.
No. That's 100% on.
No, that's 100% real because what's happened is so many people see the fun, fluffy side of owning a business, and there are multiple benefits of owning a successful business. Let's be real about that, okay? Whenever you put the time in, whenever you have the sweat equity, it is great to be part of a thriving, successful business.
Mm-hmm.
But no one talks about what it takes to get there. And even if you have small success in the first 6 months, in the first year, doom and gloom might be coming right behind it. And so it's so important to know that, hey, I got to be ready for that. I got to weather this storm so that I can be successful. So that's so good that you poured into that and said, hey, this is real. This is what you have to do. It's hard work. It's great to do, but you're not going to just set out tomorrow and it be successful.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. All right, let's jump back on something fun, okay?
Oh, yeah.
What was the longest continually produced vehicle you hit me with in history? You know, was it the Suburban, the Volkswagen Beetle, the F-150, or none of those? Since 1935.
Okay.
Since 1935, this vehicle has been produced.
Well, that's generally people would probably guess the F-150. But I think it was the early 40s they started this thing.
Yeah, it's tricky because it wasn't necessarily the F-150 nameplate. It was Ranger and F-100.
F-100, yeah.
Of going through
so
there.
It's not that. What is
It's not. It's the Suburban. The Chevy Suburban started production in 1935 and is still in production.
Pretty crazy. We got those for sale too.
That is crazy. We do. Next up, a couple more questions we got from our team. How important is sharing your vision and goals for growth and the objectives for the company with your team?
I think it's so important. Like, it's one of those things that, you know, a goal not written down is just a wish, right? So if you say, hey, we need to accomplish this.
Sure.
Like, hey, I want to be at 120% growth, or hey, I'd like to be X amount of ROs, or hey, I'd like to hit this number, or I'd like to be in the President's Award, or hey, I'd like to. If that's just in your mind, even if you're giving them very clear direction of here, you know, we need to do this, this, and this, but you don't tell them what it's for or what you're after, they won't have that same nugget of everyone pulling in the same direction. At least that's my feeling.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely a wish that you're already setting up in your head that you really don't want to happen because you've told no one, you've written it, you've not shared it with it written down or anything else. You are saying, hey, I don't want this goal to be successful. Inadvertently, that's what you're relaying on. Even though you may want it, you don't want it bad enough to be able to share with your team to help them hold you accountable. That's the reason you're doing it, is because you think the goal is too far-fetched, that it's not attainable, and you don't want to be held accountable whenever you fail.
And I think the flip side of that is the objectives. If you don't share those objectives, then someone might think they're absolutely killing it, but in your mind, you never shared where you'd actually like to be. And so that was a misrepresentation on both parties.
Yep.
They're super excited because they had some growth at this level, but the expense, the growth, and all the things that you had to go through to get that does not outweigh that. And so then you're dissatisfied. They're super happy. You're on two different planets, and it just doesn't make sense.
Have either of y'all been in the situation before where you had a goal and a vision in your head, and you thought that your team was on that same level with you? You hadn't directly said, here's what we're after, but you just assumed that they saw what you were doing, they saw what you were talking about. You assumed that they were on the same trajectory as you were, but at the end of the month, just like you said, they thought we did well, and you're like, no, we way missed the mark.
100, maybe 1,000 times. And I want to go as simple and as basic as walking around, pick up trash.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The goal and the objective was, let's keep a clean area, because I've seen my dad do it. It's just the proper thing to do. Without me it'll frustrate me. I've talked about moving the whole lot myself, and I'm just like, you fool, why are you doing that? I'm like, well, no one else is gonna do it. It's like, if you ask anybody else to do it, removing snow.
Sure.
When you're doing that and you assume everyone's just be like, oh dang, the owner's been here since 4 a.m. clearing snow, it's their day off, and all these things, like,
Matter.
Then they're drinking your free coffee.
Just staring at you at the glass.
Staring at you, and they get in, they're like, oh, I didn't know it was jeans day. It's like, well, I didn't know you were going to be a slacker today. You idiot. Right? That's what you feel. That's not what you say. But that's totally my fault.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is.
And it's like, hey, hang on. Stop being the doer, be the teacher. Right? Process, implementation, procedure. I've failed at that a million times.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's good. How do you separate one individual? Now think about this. How do you separate one individual that you know is good for business? Man, they leave a negative impact on the team. So they got great numbers, but every time you see, they are just trying to drag others down.
That's a tough one. We went through this recently of you have to be hard on of going through it, hold them accountable, because a lot of times you find yourself, you allow high performers to get away with things that you're not going to hold the guy that's just starting accountable to. And a lot of times you've got to reset them and say, no, we got to remember how you got to being successful. And we've recently done this with a salesman, and he's started to taking it constructively and started to move in the right direction. But you have to have that unfun conversation and say, look, this isn't working, and we have to change this if we want to continue to be in a business relationship together.
And I think that's probably best case scenario, if you can make that work, right?
Yeah.
And that top performer, a technician, someone in the office, whoever it is that's just really efficient and does really well, generally they know that, right? And the rest of the team knows that as well. And so then they start kind of dividing the team, the underperformers and the overperformers. And they're like, hey, they get special rules, even if they're just performing that well. Yeah. And so you have to be very careful that it's clear expectations, communications, and it doesn't get out of hand, because this is so important.
Sure.
With that, the three of us could not operate this whole thing by ourselves.
Sure.
I could not do this on my own. You could not. And the three of us couldn't do it without everyone. So this is 1,000% a team event.
Yeah.
And so I have to realize that no one is above leaving a negative impact. And so sometimes, and it happens more often than not, that you have to part ways and realize you just lost a top performer, but the detriment they were doing to your team was not.
It wasn't. And this is a tough one, because it's really hard to coach that top performer. And you guys know what we're talking about out there. That might be the toughest person to have a constructive conversation with.
You got to spin it, like we talked about.
You got to be able to spin it. And here's a couple things I've found that help. Is if you will find something they do outside of work, because usually a top performer is not good at sitting around at home. So they're involved in the things. They may be involved in their church. They may lead a group. They may be a coach for a kid's team, or involved in some type of philanthropy work in a nonprofit.
Yep.
And if you'll spin that and you'll talk to them, say, hey, have you ever had anybody in your XYZ team that just didn't have the right attitude and wasn't bringing it up? And like you put them in that role. Say, well, how do you handle that? And then you can come back and say, hey, I'm kind of having the same situation here at work. And let me explain to you. I know your numbers are great and you sold a lot of cars last month. And I understand you're giving everybody else a hard time and you're trying to get them out of the way so you can get more lot ups or more opportunities. Can I share something with you? If you made a more positive impact, I'm not asking you to hang out with them all day, but a more positive impact, and they were more successful, you'd have more trade-ins to sell.
Right.
If we sold more cars, we'd have more trade-ins. So then you could put more of your deals together.
Yep.
And you start spinning it like that. Won't work 100% of the time, but if you can put them in a scenario they're in, we had one of our employees the other day, and I called them straight out on that. And I won't say their name. But I was like, hey, do you do this same thing when you're leading people?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's different than just say, hey, you got a piss poor attitude. No one likes you. I know you do well, but you're going to figure it out. We're going to have to cut ways. Like, it eventually can come down to that. Like, hey, we've talked about this 7 or 8 times. You want to know the funny thing that you're sitting here talking about this, and I think this, and you wonder, is this important? This is a question that one of our employees asked. It said, how do you separate one individual that you know is good for business, but they leave a negative impact on the team? One of the employees asked that. So you know that's relevant, right?
Oh, yes.
So that's how you handle it. If you're listening out there and you ask these questions, that's how you handle it. And if you didn't ask this question, you might be on that side. And if you're a bad performer, you're negatively impacting the team as well.
If you didn't listen last week on episode 49, one of our questions was, what percentage of employees say they left a job because of poor leadership? 75%.
3 out of 4.
75. So is this question relevant? Absolutely. 75% of employees leave because of poor leadership.
Mm-hmm.
All right. How do you guys handle an employee or a process that doesn't align with a position or the company? So think about that. How do you handle an employee or a process? I guess the process is probably the easier thing to talk about here first. How do you handle a process that doesn't align, with that position, what you're asking about that position, or with the company?
So I think, and we talked about this before, but an employee that's not aligning with the current position, whether it's the process or the position, we look and see, never mind the role, tell us about the employee.
Sure.
Do they have a good attitude? Are they a team player? Do they treat others the way they want to be treated? Do they greet customers? Are they on time? Are they presentable? Are they respectful? All the things you would say of a model person, right? So if the answer is yes to most of those questions or all those questions, then you slowly start discovery with that employee and say, hey, what's changed?
Right.
Is it a lack of me giving you responsibility to not be able to do your job? Do you not have the time or the proper tools and stuff to be able to do your job properly? And they might say, yes, like I've asked for this. I need these tools.
Sure.
And like, my bad, didn't know that. I don't know who you asked. Please tell me without telling me so I can make sure this doesn't happen again. Let me get you the tools. And they're like, no. I've got all the information. I've got all the tools I need. This isn't working well. I'm having another kid. Life change might have happened. I'm having another kid. I can't work as late. Or, hey, my wife's schedule changed. I need to do this. Or my husband's schedule changed. I need to do that. And they're like, okay. So if you have that person that doesn't align with the current role, then, right now we have 19 job openings available.
Yeah.
That's not spots. We probably have 35 spots open, right? And we're not just filling them with just people raising their hand. You have the right person, right? And so quickly we're going to say who's in this dealership that might be looking for advancement or might need to completely, because we'll take somebody that's barely making it.
Sure.
And I'm not saying financially, but just like doesn't love showing up to work and doing what they do. And we have dozens of these currently still in our business that move to another store or just a different department that is a twinkling star.
Yep.
We
just talked about that just yesterday.
Yeah.
In our board meeting. Just that they were a good person. They'd been with the company for a while and they did well the first 6 months in that position, but then the new wore off and we saw that like, hey, they're really just it's not aligning with the process of that position.
Yeah. Didn't challenge them, but the fit wasn't there. So I'd say that's the first thing that we would do as an employee.
Yeah.
What we would do there.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, of going into there, it's just so important to know and realize that whenever it is happening that you see that they're not aligning, and this is reiterating what y'all have just went over and said, it's so important to grab a hold of them and say, hey, let's make this change. Let's do this. Let's dive into it at that time, whenever it needs to be done, because one, either you're going to let it go too long and you lose the employee, or it's going to negatively impact someone else in your or not in the family. Yeah. In the work family, but affect them. So then you lose someone else that they're going to affect.
So I think the key part there, Taylor just said, I'm glad you said it because I was going to jump in, is that you need to have that conversation sooner than later. Yep. The farther it gets along, the more damage that's been done, and the less likely that you'll be able to recover and adjust to keep that employee.
Yeah, most certainly there. And then think about a process that doesn't align with the position. You need to look and see, what was the process for? You know, is it a process that we even need? And the answer is yes. It's like, okay, well, what does it accomplish, or what is it trying to accomplish? And so once you get those things like, hey, manufacturer said we got to be at 96% satisfaction, or whatever it is, and you're like, well, the process, does it help with that? Yeah. And does it align with that position? Like, should another position help with that?
Yep.
You know, forget the employee for a second and just process and position. And like, okay, maybe we could still have that process, but maybe we need to rework that process. Maybe the verbiage isn't correct. Maybe the timing isn't correct. And so if that's still needed, the process in that position, then you just like rework at that. And then you put a little bit of whiff on what's in it for me, right?
Yeah.
Adjust a pay plan to compensate them to help you do that, because employees are products of their pay plan. And so if you can help incentivize them to help make it make sense, to help things align, once again, going up to the top a little bit about having clear goals and communication about what the expectations are, then I think that helps align all three of those: people, process, and position.
That's good. That's really good.
That's in a perfect world.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
That's good.
All right, Mythbusters time. Leaders have all the answers.
You want the answer, or you want me to explain myself?
Oh, whatever. I don't.
Oh, absolutely.
It's your show. You do whatever you want. Mythbusters, leaders have all the answers.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. And I think that's the
Do you have all the answers?
Yeah, you're out of your mind. Like, and as soon as you think you have all the answers, you're even farther away. You're like, if you say yes or maybe to that, or most of the time, hey, it's time for a checkup.
Yeah.
You're farther away from that. What that tells me is you're not open to outside influence. You're not open to productive criticism. Leaders don't have all the answers. Leaders identify areas of growth and then work to find those answers.
Yeah. And that's something that we're struggling with some of our leaders right now. And we ask, hey, what's this on this RO, or what's this on this account?
Yep.
And they just knee jerk. And so this is like, okay, that was fast. Are you sure that's across 2,000 ROs? What's happening here? Or in all these car deals, 500 deals a month, are you sure this is what's happening? It's like, yep, that's exactly how it's going. It's like, And so then I asked the office, I'm like, hey, what are you seeing? They're like, no, it's directly getting close to this line. It's like, no, we never do that. So that's a sign of not a good leader. Like, how many times do you want to put your shoe in your mouth and have to take it out and look silly, or sit there and chew on it because, nope, that's my decision I made? And so the answer, of course, is no. But it says leaders don't have all the answers, but they know how to ask the right questions to find the answers. Like, that's like the age-old game when somebody asks you a question and you don't want to answer it, or you don't know how to answer it. You then ask a question back to that person and say, hey, in reference to, tell me specifically what you're asking me, right? And it's not dodging the question. It's, hey, giving me some more context, and then say, you know what, that's a really good question. And without me just vomiting out something that might not be 100% true, I need to dive deeper into that. Tell me specifically some references of example so I can help us all understand. Yeah. The good leaders slow down, listen, and ask the right questions. The person that wants to take all the recognition, like Taylor said, that says, I'm not trying to get my name all over everything. I just want my team to win, and that makes me feel like I won. Yeah. The guy that says, yep, I got it. Yep, I know the answer. The person, the lady, the whoever that says, yep, I did. Yep, but that's like,
It's all going to be good.
Here's a pro tip for you. If you're the quickest one in the room to answer a question, okay, this isn't a game show. The quickest one to answer the question, you're probably the one that is least likely to improve and progress your department.
Because you didn't listen or learn anything.
So back all the way to, and of course we have kids now, so like this is all resonating, but back to even when you're a kid, if your parent asks you if you cleaned your room.
What does that mean?
That means they went and looked at your room and it's not clean.
Not clean.
So if you have an owner or a manager that asks you something, you better pause before you answer, because they're probably asking because it hasn't been done. It's their nice way of saying you haven't done your job.
I was going to say, that's their nice way of saying, if I say, hey, what's this still doing behind the shop? Or, hey, do you know what's going on with this? That's the nice way, because generally someone's not going to be like, hey, you fool, this has been parked back there for 18 days. It hasn't moved. It's been checked off on this, this, and this. You haven't done anything with it. Like, that's not how I want to be managed. So generally we don't. But when they ask that, they know it hasn't moved or they know the answer. So don't just verbal vomit back at them.
No, I agree. Hey, what a great conversation today on our 50th episode.
50th episode, pretty
50th
solid.
episode.
That's almost a year.
That's almost a year. We look forward to the next 50.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys keep the great questions coming, whether it's employees or from the outside world, and let us know. And if there's anybody locally you'd like us to interview to get their insight on business, let us know that as well.
Yeah.
You can get a hold of us directly or on any of the social channels. I think we got 55 of them. Send a message over there. Hey, but as always, check out our inventory on lewissuperstore.com. It is our Trade and Trade Up event this month. And then find this episode number 50, and many more on crossroadconversationspodcast.com. Hey, thanks for joining us today, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to give it a like, share it with your friends and family, visit our website, and send us some questions. We want to know what you'd like to hear, who you'd like to hear from, and what you want to see, or maybe even some questions for us to answer about either the automotive industry or just business in general.